What's up, everybody? My name is Michael Tyler, and today I'm going to show you guys how to set up Selenium using Maven. Now, the first thing we want to do is to make sure we have our IDE. So I'm using IntelliJ 2024, and we're going to load that up real quick so we can get started. Perfect. All right. Now we need to make a name for our project. So let's name it Selenium Setup. Okay. And the next thing we're going to choose is our build system type. This type is going to be Maven. And the Java version will be JDK 17. Nothing else will be changed. All right, once it's loaded up, we have a couple things we need to set up first. So if you open your settings and you search plugins, you're gonna need Cucumber for Java and Gherkin. These are the two things that are required for this to work. All right, giving a bit of time right there. I hope you got it. We're gonna move on. Next, that sounded mean. I'm not mean, I promise. The next thing we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna open our POM XML. So this is where we're gonna load in all of our dependencies. And we're gonna have about 7 dependencies that we need to load in for us to be successful. I have a link in the description of all the dependencies. And I also have a GitHub as well that you can just download it if you want for your automation in case you get lost. So the ones that we need right here, we need Cucumber JVM, and we do need to put this in a dependencies tag. Why is that? Because dependencies means we have more than one dependency. All right, let's paste that in there. Let's move backwards. We're gonna log back. We're gonna get Cucumber JVM unit 14. We're gonna get JUnit Jupyter API, SLF4J. This is going to help us out when we want to do some logging, and we'll set up a log back after we install all of these. Gherkin. It's for the plugin we just got. And lastly, Selenium. It's our bread and butter. This is how we're running our automation. All right. So once you have everything, get rid of some of those lines. There we go. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to reload our project. So let's reload our project here. So it is setting up. All right, and once it's set up, I like to just do this as a personal preference to generate sources and update folders. Great. All right, now that we have that, just to double check your project, let's make sure that your language level is set to either default or 17. Depending on what you're using, just make sure it aligns properly so we don't have any errors when your project runs and it's reading some of the code. So because we have SLF4J, as I mentioned earlier, we do need to make a logback XML. And so let's make logback XML, logback.xml. On the GitHub, I will have this file directly because it is quite a bit to type out. So I'm going to copy it from my GitHub and I'm just going to post it here for you guys. This is pretty much going to say anything that we write with .info, which you will see later, is going to show out in the console. That's so we can see that our code is running properly. All right. Now, with that being said, we have all of our dependencies. We have our IDE. We have our plugins installed. And you may need to reset your IDE. So let's just all do that together. And close that out. I'm going to open IntelliJ again. And we're going to open recent project, new window. There we go. All right. So IntelliJ is reset. We reopen it. Let's get moving forward to the really important demo part to make sure your code is running. So when running automation, we need to make sure that we have our test folder. So we have our test folder here and it has Java. Okay. Now we need a resources folder. So we're going to make a new directory and we're going to call it resources. And luckily IntelliJ is nice enough. They have a resources directory. So we're going to click that. Now what goes in here, traditionally, you're going to make a folder called features. And inside of that feature, if you had multiple different automations, you make a folder for that. So let's call this UI features. All right. And in the UI features, we're going to create a file down here. And this is going to be called our feature file. So let's use the website. Let's use YouTube. So we'll do YouTube UI dot feature. You need to add that dot feature at the end to make sure it's a feature file. Perfect. Now you're gonna see this little kind of cucumber icon, and that's exactly what we want to see. So that means it is identified by cucumber and gherkin. That's what we did earlier. Perfect. Now there's a lot of syntax in cucumber, gherkin, and all of the readable language, but it's pretty simple. So you always need to start with feature. And so a feature is just saying, what are we expecting out of this file? So in this feature, we're going to say, we want to make sure we can access YouTube through automation. There you go. All right. So now that's our feature. Now we have our scenario. So the scenarios are what's happening, right? So our scenario will be, we want the user to be able to search a video game on YouTube, right? Now, that's what we want to do. But I'm just going to put this in there now. There are two ways, and we're actually going to do it a second way, which is kind of a more industry standard way, and use scenario outline. And so this is just allowing us to include examples to have dynamic tests instead of a standard expected output. So our scenario outline is going to say we want the user to be able to access the video game on YouTube through different browsers. All right, so we want Chrome, we want Edge, we want Firefox, we want it all. Next, we have the standard given, when, then. So we're going to say, all right, given we have installed the proper web drivers, and we're going to put driver here, right? When I activate the given web driver, then I will be brought to YouTube's page with the proper browser. Perfect. So that's our scenario right there, right? So the expectation is we have a browser, given that we're going to use our API for. We're going to activate that driver. So our web driver is going to touch our browser. And then when we, instantiate it, we're going to be brought to YouTube's page with that browser. And so we're going to say examples now. And examples are only required when using a scenario outline versus scenario. And that's why I said we're going to use it kind of the industry standard way of scenario outline. So with the scenario outline, we have Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. And so we're going to put pipe, driver, pipe, and we're going to pipe Chrome, pipe, Edge, pipe, and pipe, Firefox, pipe, right? And if you look closely, if we hold Control on Windows, you can see that it highlights driver now. So if you click driver, these are linked, right? So that's saying that's what we're looking for. That's the word we're going to have, okay? So with that being said, congratulations. That's the first part. You now have a feature file. Let's move on to the bulk of it. So this is where your automation comes in. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to create some directories. So let's make step defs. Actually, yeah, step defs. Let's do that. Step defs. And we're going to make a YouTube step defs. All right. And so it's just saying we have our step definitions for our glue code, and that's going to the YouTube step defs. Imagining you have a million different automations you want to run. You want to keep it organized. And we're going to create a file, and it's going to be called YouTube step def. Let's do YouTube UI step def. Perfect. So we have YouTube UI step def. All right. And remember how when I said we had the POM and we need to import all these dependencies? This is where the magic's going to happen. Okay. So this is where we're going to see it all come together. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure we have that web driver from Selenium. So because it's only going to be accessed in this step def, we're going to do private web driver, right? And then it's going to shine red. And why is that? Because we need to import it. All right. So open QA Selenium, Alt Enter, we're going to import that. All right. That's because of the POM, Maven, and the dependencies. All right. And we're going to set up our logger, as I mentioned earlier. So private logger. And it's going to show Java util as the main one, that's not the one we want. We want to make sure it's SLF4J. So make sure you pick that proper one. All right. And then equals logger factory SLF4J dot get logger. And we're going to put the YouTube stepdef.class. And we're going to use the class because we only want it to reference inside of this class that we've made. Okay. Now, moving forward, we're going to skip and just do our given wins and then. So you need the given annotation. So at given. And so you're going to put quote, the up point, exponential sign. I can't remember what it's called. And we're going to copy this. So what we have written here, exactly. And then we're going to put a dollar sign at the end. And we're going to change this out. And we're going to do quote, parentheses, dot star, close. Right? And let's import that given statement. All right. And now we need to make our method. So public void, we installed our drivers. String driver, right? So we're going to pass that driver through because we're passing that example. So logger.info, this is our API, not API, driver, plus driver. Okay. You know, yeah. Driver, let's change that. Driver type. All right. And so now because we have 3 different types and when it's testing in different browsers, Chrome, Edge, and Firefox, we're going to actually make 3 examples to catch. So we're going to put in some conditional statements. So we said if driver type dot equals, because it'll be a string, and we're going to put Chrome, we're going to instantiate our driver equals new Chrome driver. So you can see right there when I did the drivers, there's a bunch of different ones. So driver equals new driver. So there's a bunch of different drivers, Chrome, Firefox, Edge, right? So that's the different types of drivers we want to use. All right, so we're going to do that. And then we're going to log out to say logger info, we have accessed Chrome driver, all right? Close that. So to make this fast, we're just going to copy and paste this 3 times. And we're going to put Edge, and we're going to put Firefox. Edge driver, Firefox driver. There we go. All right, so we have our drivers. So that's our first step. That's our given, right? Now let's move to our then. So next step, all right, activate the given WebDriver. And because we're not passing in any variables this time, we do not need to add that open and close bracket. Can find my mouse. There it is. Cool. And so just do public void our driver. Our driver is live. Boop, boop. And we do assertion. How do you spell? Assertions dot assert not null driver. Right? So it's just gonna make sure our driver's not null. Because what we did up here is we instantiated driver to either Chrome, Edge, or Firefox driver. All right. Then lastly, we're going to put at then, and we're going to take brought to the proper page. All right. Same thing. We're not passing in any parameters. So exponential sign, dollar sign still need to go. And public void. We access YouTube site, open, close. All right. So now we have our given wins and thens. And that's great. Oh, sorry. Given, then, and then. Sorry. When. There we go. Sorry about that. Given, when, and then. So we have that. Now this is our foundation. So if we go back to our feature file, we should hold control and you should be able to see this. All right, I should be able to click it, and I should be able to go from this feature file over to our step def for all 3. All right. So we're going to take a quick second here. If you think you're doing great, amazing, Awesome. If you're stuck, then let's make sure you reset your IDE and make sure all your dependencies are loaded and you do have those plugins. Also, make sure you do have that JDK17 in your language proper. All right. So a quick fix I have is on line 25, I did not add a small quote. If you have it, great job. I forgot. So just make sure you have that small quote there, all right, for our variable. All right, moving forward, we're gonna get to the fun part, the automation. So let's use our driver.get, and where do we wanna go? YouTube.com, all right? And we're gonna say, let's add a timeout. Timeouts dot implicitly wait 20 duration. Well, time unit is seconds. There we go. And that's just saying the driver's gonna wait implicitly for 20 seconds. So that's gonna give it 20 seconds to load up. If it doesn't load up in 20 seconds, we'll get an error for that. And now we need to talk about web elements. So we're gonna add a web element called the search bar and driver.find element by, and we're gonna use by XPath. And you may ask yourself, what is a web element? And that's fine. All right. A web element is pretty much any element on a page. So if we go to youtube.com, right? I have two of these open. There we go. Ha, already had it here. Perfect. Anything on this page is a web element, right? So these containers, the U, the history, the search bar, sign in, these are all elements. And so to get to here, you want to do F12. You'll open this. You may be on console. Just click the elements tab. And you're going to click this box right here, which will highlight an element. So if you hover over the search bar box, you should see input search YTD search box. If you click it, it should highlight right here. Now, it's kind of complex to find these. So you can do copy XPath. If you do copy XPath, you do Control F in the console pane, you should see this right here, right? And so it's very important to note here, you're gonna have 3 levels. So you're gonna have 3 found, right? The first search ID, the second one, which is this giant box, and the third one, which is the actual search box. This is what we want because when you search, you have to click in here and you have to type, right? So in order to get that, specifically in this case, it's very unique. Since there's 3, we need to specify how exactly you want that. And so you'll learn a little bit more in the future once you get more comfortable with it, using different locators. So we're going to do / input, and we saw it had an ID, so at ID equals, and we're gonna do search, right? And close that, and look at there. This looks right. Perfect. So let's convert this over to Java. So we're going to close this out. And we're going to paste that in there. And make sure we put our quotes around it. And because Java does not let us have quotes inside of quotes like that, make sure you add a backtick. There we go. Perfect. So our web element is located. We now have the search bar. So we're going to make what we want to search in a string called criteria. Recently I've been playing Elden Ring. Millennia, I just beat her. Very satisfying feeling. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, you have to click it. So it's a built-in. You do .click. And once again, we'll do search bar .send keys. So it's just saying, what do we want to send to that element? Because it takes input into the search box. Let's put our criteria variable with the string. And then comma, we're going to do keys .return. All right. And that's just saying we're going to send the enter key, which is known as the return key traditionally. All right. So looking at everything now, we should be good to go, right? We have all of our given wins and thens. We have our logger here, so it should let us know what log we're on or what driver type we're using. And if it's not null, you should be good if it's not null there. All right. And so let's give this a quick whirl. But before we do that, make sure we do build our project again because we did just add in some new variables. So once it's loaded, you're going to go here, you're going to click Run Scenario. All right, if it runs, we're going to have green check marks. And that's what we want to see. So we have 3 scenarios, right? Because we did a scenario outline with examples. So what I'm going to do, it's actually on my other monitor. So here, let me drag it over. Looks like we had 3 successes, right? We accessed our Chrome driver. So let's look at these one by one. We have accessed our Chrome driver. It's not null. We're brought to the YouTube page. If I move all of these over, there. We now have Chrome. Well, hold up. Is this Firefox? Yep, we have Chrome, we have Edge, and we have Firefox. There we go. And so that's your automation. It's known as a zombie browser right here. You can see it by the zombie logo. All right. So with that being said, hopefully you guys learned something today. If you need anything else or any other tutorials, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll try my best to explain them. Maybe in the future, I'll make a more in-depth how to automate maybe a Jenkins pipeline if you guys like. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon.